Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Menachos Menachos Daf Lamed Ches. We begin a brand new parak HaTcheles, which will discuss the various halachos regarding tzitzis. Okay, as we know, the tzitzis is really comprised of two types. We have the white strings and the blue strings. At the time of the Beis HaMikdash, they knew exactly what the tcheles was, where the dye originated, what type of creature it would be taken from. Throughout the generations, it was lost from us and forgotten. And actually, recently they discovered there were many attempts at at trying to figure out exactly what the tcheles was. There was the Radzina's discovery, a certain kind of fish, and most recently there was a certain type of snail, murex, that was somewhat determined, perhaps, to have been the source of the tcheles of the blue, this unique blue dye. In fact, I heard that Reb Belsky Zatzal had started wearing this type of tcheles towards the end of his life, and I heard about it, and then I saw it myself one day. He was in Toronto a couple of months before his patira. He came to speak at a shuvu get together, and I walked him home, and he sat down. He lifted his kapata, and he would do it only sort of in a concealed manner. He didn't want to display it. So towards the end of his life, he started wearing a long frock, and this way it would cover the strings, so it wouldn't be noticeable. And I noticed when he was sitting down, it sort of got lifted, and I noticed the blue in his tzitzis. So he apparently did adopt this position that the dye of this murex snail is in fact the most likely candidate for tcheles, and to the point that he actually started wearing it. In any case, so ideally the tzitzis is comprised of two colors, the white strings and the blue. What if you have one, not the other? As most of us today, right? It says the Mishnah, tcheles, the presence of the tcheles, or the absence of the tcheles, eina ma'akeves, will not hold back as halav in the white. So you can have the white without the blue. And vice versa, halav and eina ma'akeves at tcheles. Likewise, regarding the two tefillins, tefillah shel yad, eina ma'akeves shel rosh. The tefillin shel yad does not hold back. If one only had a shel rosh available, so he puts on the shel rosh and he gets that mitzvah. And vice versa, the shel rosh is not going to hold back fulfillment and laying of the shel yad. Eina ma'akeves shel yad. Says the Gemara. The Mishnah seems to indicate that blue and white are essentially independent of each other. It would appear that our Mishnah, which considers them separate, is not like Rebbe, the Sanya. According to Rebbe, it's one package, inseparable. You can't have one without the other. Risam Oisai, take a look at it. The group of strings, blue and white together. Melamed, we learn from this pasuk. Oisai is singular, it's one single inseparable package. You can't have one without the other. It's Rebbe's Shita. They're not critical for each other. My time the Rebbe, why is Rebbe saying they are? The pasuk begins with the white strings. Pasuk says, "V'asulahem tzitzis al kanfei vigdehem." Right, hakanaf, speaking about the corner of the actual beged, min kanaf. That's the white, similar in color to the white garment. The garment is typically white. It's a reference to the white strings. The pasuk continues, uksiv psil decheles, the blue string. Then the pasuk says, take a look and observe it. It means blue and white together as one. Unless you have them both together, you have nothing. Rabbanan disagree. Risam is singular. Actually, it's referring to each one separately. Okay, in any case, Leim must listen like a Rebbe. So our Mishnah, which seems to say that they're separate, you can have one without the other, is not like Rebbe. Amar Vidam Rav, I feel the Rabbi, it will work even according to Rabbi. The Mishnah is not speaking that there's one missing. The Mishnah is speaking about sequence. In what order do you attach the strings to the beged? The Sanya is one in a brisa. Mitzvah lahaktim lavan l'tchelis. Since the white is referred to in the pasuk first, right? So it's a mitzvah to put the white before and followed by the blue. Mitzvah lahaktim lavan l'tchelis. If he did it the other way around, first blue and then white, it's okay. I mean, it works. Ela shachisar mitzvah, but he's missing the mitzvah. My chisar mitzvah, what does that mean? He's missing the mitzvah. Ilam chisar mitzvah lavan. You mean that he's missing now on the white? V'kiyah mitzvah tchelis. He's fulfilling the mitzvah of tchelis, but he missed that on the lavan. It's not going to work because lavan came out of order. So basically, you're saying that you could be makayim blue without the white. Again, that's not like Rebbe. Rebbe ikubi mi'akav adadi. According to Rebbe, they're both critical, right? They're essential for each other. They're not inseparable. They're not separable. They're totally one entity. Amar B'dam Rav, no, we mean shechisar mitzvah asa mitzvah. He missed out some part of the mitzvah, but he did the other part. Umay chisar mitzvah. What do we mean? He missed out the mitzvah min hamufcha. He didn't do the preferred mitzvah. So technically, even out of order, it works. But he didn't get the order right. He didn't get that aspect of the mitzvah. And that's what our Mishnah means as well. So when Mishnah begins and says, Atchilas eina ma'akevas es halavan, v'halavan ve'eina ma'akevas atchilas, in the second half, the Mishnah means v'halavan, the sequencing, the placing of the lavan before the tchilas as required. If it's not done that way, eina ma'akevas atchilas, it's not going to hold back the tchilas, meaning even if it does the tchilas first, it can still work. That explains the second half of that statement. What about the first part of that sentence? Hatchilas eino ma'akevas es halavan. So, accordingly, you would learn that the presence of the tchilas, or the absence of it, will not hold back the white. Well, actually, the white is meant to go first, before the tchilas, as you just told me. So you've explained the second part of the statement, according to your analogy, but it's not going to fit with the first part of the statement of the Mishnah. The first part of the sentence will not fit. Okay, so that's the Gemara's next kasha. Ateinach lavan. That explains the second part of that sentence. Lavan de'inay ma'akevas atchilas, if it's out of order. But what about the first part of that sentence? Tchilas de'inay ma'akevas lavan mai. What does the Mishnah mean by that? Let me explain. The first part is speaking that it's a blue, completely blue garment. In which case you meant to put the blue first. It switches the order because the first one is meant to correspond to the color of the beged. So typically it's white and then blue, but here it's blue and then white. And that's what the Mishnah means. If you switch the order, it still works. Itmar nami, we learned likewise. Omar Levi. Levi turned to the Amoira Shmuel. Shmuel Aryech, he called him King Aryech. Rashi says because we paskin like Shmuel and Dinei Mamonis. It's like a king. He had supreme authority in that. So he addressed him in a very endearing, respectful manner, and he says, "Look, I have a question of you. Don't sit down akarach on your legs. I mean, don't sit down. I need you to explain to me the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah mean? Amar Leis, he says like this. So first he explained the second half of that sentence, as we did before. We're talking about a sadin. Sadin is a white garment, a white sheet. The mitzvah of in this case, white threads go first because that's the color of the. My time of why hakanav min kanav. The pasuk first relates to the type which is similar to the beged min kanav, the white, and then the blue. And if you switched it around, Mishnah is saying it's okay. The actim. If he did the blue first, it still works. Okay, so again, that suffices for the second half of that sentence. Teinach, that explains Lavan, the absence of the white will not invalidate the blue that came first. Okay, so even though it's out of order, But the first part of that sentence, which is Tchelas De'ena Makev Salaman, Mai, what's that talking about? Amarlei, or Machamas, he says, yeah, like we said before, in this we're talking about a blue garment, in which case its sequence is reversed. It's blue and then white, and if you didn't do so, it still works. The mitzvah, because in this case is required to precede the blue over the white, like do made tchelas. Why? Because in this case the garment is blue. Da'akanav min kanav. Be active, but if he switched the order and he first did the white, love and bereish, less than what works. Amar Rava. Rava is unhappy with this whole color scheme. He says the pasuk speaks about the strings which are similar to the garment. It's unrelated to color. Color is superficial. We're talking about the type of material. Basically, what he's saying is, since typically, Rashi explains like this, since typically things are white, that's what the pasuk means. Roiv talisas lavanis. Most materials are white, so it's always going to be white. White is determined as the first one in, period. Irrespective of your particular garment, you happen to be blue or red, doesn't matter. White is always going to go first. So the white strings go first regardless. So this whole analogy of the Mishnah doesn't work. Does color play a role here? Elamar Rava says, let me tell you pshat in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, blue is not miyakiv the white, and vice versa. We're talking that it got worn down. The strings were properly sized to begin with, and you know how tzitzis, they get worn out, they get clipped and chipped and shortened and snapped. That's what the Mishnah is talking about. The Mishnah is talking el gardumen, leftovers. Di gardem tcheles v'koy loven, if the tcheles got snapped off and the loven is still there. Or vice versa, vi gardem loven v'koy tcheles. The loven got snapped and the tcheles is still there. Last lamad, there's no concern, meaning it still works. Am rechia, as we learned from Rechia. The bnei rechia Torahs. Gardume tcheles ksher, gardume ezek ksher, the leftovers of the tcheles are still okay, and leftovers of the grass used to spray the paraduma water is also fine. Okay, now what's the minimum allowance? I mean, snap till what? What's left? If it comes a shir gardum, what's still considered remnants that you can still reckon with? Amar bar duri, Amar Shmuel. Yeah, there is some minimum size that's still considered functional and is considered present. The shortened string must have enough length within it that it theoretically can be used to potentially wrap the other ones and tie a simple bow around the other ones. Now the question is, we talk about bowing the other ones. So all the rest, so this short one is meant to have enough length that can wrap around all the other 7, or just around itself is enough. The anvan means to wrap them all together, that's a lot. Or to wrap just one at a time. Take it, we leave it unresolved. Boy Ravashi. Boy Ravashi. Now let's say this leftover shortened string is a thick type of string. In which case it's cumbersome to wrap. It's not going to really wrap properly. It has the length, but because of its thickness, it doesn't work. If you have a katina, if they were in fact thin, they would. They would work. He would be able to tie them around the wrist. What's the halacha? Amrleisi says, of course it's better. It's thicker, it's more substantial, it's more present. Of course, certainly, the minkar mitzvah sayu, their presence, the mitzvah tzitzis is more noticeable in this case. Of course it works. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. We have Shitas Rebbe, that Tchelas and Lavan are one inseparable package, one mitzvah, Risa Moisoi. So when the Mishnah says blue can go without the white and vice versa, it cannot be that originally it was blue without the white because you need them as one. Rather, either, we have two ways to understand. Either it's a question of sequencing or it's a question of remnants. Uman Tana de Palagali de Rebbe. Continues the Gemara. Who's the authority that disagrees with Rebbe, that holds that Tchilas and love are not really one mitzvah. You can have one without the other. Let's put a name to the face. Hai Tanu, the following shita, the Tanya or Bitzak Omer, Shom Nasan, Shom Shom Resek Livi, Shom Shom Yechon Nuri. Einle Tchilas, let's say he's missing the blue, like today, we don't have the Mata Lovin, he does the white. So you can have the white without the blue. Amar Rava. Let's go back for a minute to the Garudumin, the remnants, right? So we have a set of strings, right? And we said that the string was clipped and snapped almost till the beginning, right? But there's a little left over, then it's enough for it to wrap around. The rest of works. Now let's realize something. Suppose there's only one knot, right? We have the gdil, right? We have the anaf, right? It's made of two parts. The parts that's sort of braided and circled and wrapped and knotted, and we have the loose hanging string. That's the anaf, like the branch off the tree. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So if the string, any given string, was snapped till almost the bottom, evidently he broke loose of the knot. Right? That's at the end of the gedil leading into the anaf. So suppose there's only one knot. I mean, we do several knots. We do 5 knots. But the Gemara now will discuss whether or not you have to do multiple knots and prove that you do, because suppose the tzitzis only has one knot where the gedil meets the anaf, and now the shortened string is even shorter than that. Apparently that knot came apart. There's no knot left. It's a loose hanging string. Oh, says Rava, we can prove from the halacha of Garaduma there are multiple knots. There must be a knot after every chulya. Chulya is the sets of revolutions, of wrappings, right? We do 7, 8, 11, and 13. So at the end of each one, you have to knot it. So even if strings got shortened beyond, below the first, the last knot, they'll still have backup knots to keep them in place, right? Because otherwise there are no additional backup knots. How do you explain the halacha of Garudumin? I mean, once you get shortened past a knot, everything unravels. We just learned from there, the leftovers are kosher. Well, given the ishtar, once the upper knot, Rashi says, we call this one the upper knot because we're viewing it from this direction, we're holding it up and examining it. So once the upper knot between the gedil and the anaf unravels, the whole thing's going to come apart. Apparently there are backup knots as well. Because once the upper one unravels, the whole thing gets unraveled. So does that prove that there are several knots? Then with the iktar, no, perhaps typically you don't have to make multiple knots, but I'm talking about, in this particular case he did, and that's why it works. But who says it's required? Amar Rava, there's another halacha from Rava. Shmamina, we can learn from the following halacha that relates to tzitzis. Let's learn another point. That kesher elyon de'raisa. That the knot, right, that connects the strings to the tzitzis is required b'nat Torah. Why? Because otherwise, if it's only with the Rabbanon, but b'nat Torah you can just insert the strings through the corner and just let her hang or whatever. So then we all know that there is a special allowance to wear kalaim in a mitzvah tzitzis setting, right? You can have a linen, material, linen garment with wool threads, right? And the Torah allows it. But if there's no real knot, there's no real tying going on, there's no real connectivity, it's not really a combined entity, it's not kalaim anyways. The fact that the Torah has to go out of its way to allow kalaim by tzitzis is the biggest indicator. Those strings are meant to be tied, knotted onto that garment, which would typically present a kalaim situation, which is allowed by tzitzis. Okay, so that's his point. It's like a dialogue the Rabbanon, because if this whole knotting requirement is only the Rabbanon, when the Raisa could just let them hang loosely. My Israel Mishri, why do we have to allow sadin, a linen garment, but tzitzis, to allow the wool tzitzis on a linen garment. Pshita, of course, what's the problem? Hatoichev tchifa achas in a chipur. There's no real connection anyways. Toichev tchifa achas means, let's say you have a piece of material, wool, and a piece of linen, you put it together and you run a thread through it just one way. That's tchifa achas, one insertion. Or like in this case, the string is going just through the hole. That's not a real connection. That's not a real combination. El Shema Mino Daraisa. Oh, the fact that we have to allow kalayim, apparently because there is a proper connection here. But Daraisa, you have to tie the strings to the beged to be Mekayim Mitzvah Tzitzis. Okay, so in a nutshell, we have Shitas Rebbe, the Tchelas and Lavan are one entity. They're ma'akev each other. When the Mishnah says it's not really, we're just talking about a question of sequencing. Which strings we'll put on first, which one's the second. First the white and then the blue, but even if it wasn't, it still works. But of course, we're talking about that both the blue and white are actually present at the end of the day. Another pshat would be that originally they were there, but then they got trimmed. That's called gardumim. If there's still enough left over, it still is considered a proper tzitzis. You have shitas rabbanan who say, well, you can have one without the other, love without tchelis, and vice versa. Each one separate. We spoke about the requirements for the Kesher Elyon Daraisa, and perhaps even additional ksharim along the other route. All the best to you and Hatzlacha.